All right. Looks like we should be live on YouTube.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, welcome everyone. This is the release work group meeting for December 24. And before we start here, 21 have announcements, anything they want to share?
Yeah. I put some if people aren't aware, we're now serving the download binaries from R2. So yeah, for a long time before that, we were serving from DigitalOcean with a sort of Cloudflare load balancer in front. Um, and then for a while, we've been uploading the binaries to R2 as well as DigitalOcean. But the main downloads were still being served from DigitalOcean. So just before the Collaborator Summit or NodeConf and last month, that was switched over to serve from R2. I have added this week some additional checking so that when a releaser promotes a release, it actually checks that all the binaries are there on R2 staging and warns you if they're not. So it's the same as the existing checks for DigitalOcean in that it doesn't prevent you doing anything. You can just say, yes, I'm happy, go ahead and promote, but it will warn you if some files that it expects to be there are missing. So it does that straight after the DigitalOcean check. That was there for the 23.40 release, which I think Antoine ended up promoting. I haven't heard anything about it's broken someone's workflow, so I'm assuming that's working. But obviously, if anyone notices anything awry when they promote things, it should just be a message that says either they're all there or something's missing. But that should hopefully, give us an additional checkpoint prior to doing promotions.
No, that's great. Anything else before we just jump into the agenda here? And let me also share the minutes here. Let me drop here in the chat so that you all can put your name on it, and hopefully we can, if we can take some notes here, be great. Okay. Oh, let me see a message here. The first item here, Antoine, do you want to talk about it? The warning for import assertions. See, there's a
Yeah,
point.
um, so we have an or- like we support the import assertion syntax on the V18 release line. But we recently JSON modules have been marked as stable, so the warning that was there is now gone. So yeah, I guess the question is, are we fine adding it back only for the assertion syntax? So that like we have to add a bunch of V8 changes to V18, uh, which should be fine, but also there was a I think there was a one test that was crashing in debug mode. So yeah, just want to pass it by the team to make sure that we are okay landing it. And yeah, if someone has I don't know, thoughts or objections, I'd like to hear them.
I think I'm okay with it. I seem to recall that the error message coming out of V8 refers to like the V8 version, and I can't remember if that was. It may have been like a
Yeah, so
Another issue we
I
discussed it was just like saying, yeah, it was like this
yeah,
syntax is taken away in version without actually mentioning it was
5.4,
version.
something like that. Yeah, I
Right.
changed it to a future
Okay.
version.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's okay. Yeah, as long as it's passing tests. Um,
Sorry, is there any scenario that could break? Like this could be a breaking change for folks?
It shouldn't, because there was already a warning.
Right, right.
Well, I guess what changes it if they were disabling warnings, this one cannot really be disabled, right? Because it's coming from V8, not from Node.
Right. So if they disabled before, if they were using the disable warnings, and then it would start warning regardless because it's coming from V8.
If they're using, yeah, the assert syntax instead of with.
Mhm.
Well, anyone, we don't, like, if someone wants to comment on the PR, we don't have to take the decision today.
Yeah, I'm
But I
comfortable with
guess
it.
if I don't hear any objections and we make a new release, I would include it.
Sounds good. Have you also picked broader collaborators? I think this one might, I don't know how much input you want in it. Let me
The
know.
bot did
Right.
ping a bunch of teams. I haven't tried harder, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on to uh, and I don't think we have a particular order here, but I would like to talk about the automation stuff first, if we can.
Sure.
And I
Um,
know, yeah, go ahead.
the roadmap I wrote, this is the create release proposal roadmap, right? The
Oh,
issue
you have a,
1061. I'm sending the chat.
mhm,
I wrote that when we wrote the when I wrote the first iteration of the create release proposal YAML, but since then I think Antoine did a lot of improvements, and the two issues that we found during the first test were solved, I guess. The first one is syncing the create release content. I think Antoine did that. And the attribution, I think Antoine did a test yesterday with me, and that worked, I guess.
mhm.
Is that true, Antoine?
Yeah. I guess the commit is still authored by the bot,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's not the bot that's in the changelog.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
I think that solves the main issues. I don't know if we want to include or ourselves as the commit author, but since we are in the changelog name, I don't think if that matters, to be honest.
I disagree. I think that the commit authorship is still important. I don't know. I do see like Git history as an important part of history. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
so my thinking going through that was, so if we use the commit as is,
mhm,
and then I guess the bot is actually the author, right? Because you haven't done anything to the commit. And if you have to change the commit, then it makes sense that you can attribute the authorship or the co-authorship. Would that make sense? Or
well, I mean, at the same time, I don't think it's I would not block it because there are still like I could still run the CLI locally, right? Like and get the commit be signed by my user, right? So I think it's fine. Like it's more for folks that want to use the action, right? That's going to be have that difference, right? And I was
Do
on
we
that.
think we're
Yeah,
gonna get to a point where we can use the commit as is? So I guess it would require some way to get the notable changes automatically.
yeah,
And,
that
yeah, at that point, the releaser is not really
So
doing much. Yeah, go ahead. Raphael.
the idea previously the notable change was just a label, but now we have a bot that sent a message to the user asking to provide a summary in the pull request description. And I think assuming that everyone will do that if they want to include different changes, I can write a parser to check the pull request description and match the exactly summary, and then we can put it on the notable changes.
yeah, but I
I
don't
just
think we'll be able to kind of get around, without at least the validation, like a human reading it and making sure that it's and even like
yeah,
selecting the order, right, of appearance, right? Like because I think that's kind of like we still want some manual curation of that, that section, right?
I think
But you can always modify the commit. I guess the idea is
Right.
maybe sometimes we want to, be quick, and maybe sometimes there's not much to change from the automation.
Yeah.
But sure, I
No,
agree that we need to get always a way to amend it manually.
yeah. But I'm thinking for that specific case of the notable changes, like maybe if we have an in-between space, right? Like where like the automation could maybe just get everything, drop into a gist, right? Like something like that we can add it. And then the rest of the automation would pick that from that gist, from that sum order, right? Like temporary location and then throw it in the changelog file and the PR.
How is it different from putting it in the changelog and then you edit the commit, you amend the commit?
Right. The difference is like really having to touch the commit again. And like every time you touch, well, that commit is not that bad. Yeah. Yeah. I
I
guess you
think
just have to
basically,
edit the commit.
basically I think the expectation is you probably at the moment will have to touch the commit in some fashion. We might
Yeah.
be able to get to a state where you don't, but I mean, I don't even know, does it handle like the PR URL in the commit thing, or does it? Because otherwise, I mean, normally that's, you push the
Yes.
commit up and then have to edit it to put the PR URL, but usually you can't do that until you open the PR, which means you've already pushed the change up to the branch.
Yeah, the automation actually opens the PR just
Okay.
before pushing the commit. That's how
Okay.
I get around
Yeah.
it.
No, but yeah, I think
But yeah,
I think you're right. Like, it's a very good start to just have everything be picked up automatically and dropped into the changelog, like, and then the releaser can edit it later. I think it's a very good place to start from. May not be the ideal, like, right, like for a day when we get everything fully automated, but I think it's good enough to start for sure.
so I think at this point I can just remove that from the agenda and include the issue.
Yeah, I think one extra thing I like to mention, Rafael, I know I pinged you on the DM, but like I don't think I shared like, but also I think it would be very nice to have that, and I do have like a quick patch for Node Choreo tools to kind of like make that possible, but having the proposal also be able to kind of automatically kind of run the last steps just to recreate the changelog again, right? I think because
Okay.
and I was
Yeah.
thinking the use case I was thinking is like because often we have to go back and remove like we remove some commits from the
Mhm.
staging branch because something broke, right? Like we bisect, we find what's going on. So and then we have to regenerate all the changelog because all the commit has
Mhm.
changed, right? So
I
have the CLI be
I
able
believe
to
that it would fall in a different automation. I guess that about that reads from that specific pull request whenever someone comment like slash remove commit and the commit number and the bot act
Oh,
and do
that is
that. I
good.
think
Yeah.
it can be
Yeah.
more flexible than
Right.
adjusting that proposal, that
Right.
release proposal.
Right. Right. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be a great thing. But I mean, at the same time, the bot could still use Git node
Yeah.
release proposal, right? Like, yeah, because that's what I've been doing. Like I mentioned to you, right? Like that's what I've been using to
Yes. We
kind of
will
just
need to
update.
create.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly we need to create a new flag, like regenerate a change log or only change log or something like
Mhm.
that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I believe that it would fall in a different automation.
Yeah.
I think that when we reach to the point that the only problem is regenerating the change log, we are in a very good hands.
Very good place. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
For what it's worth, if we want signed commits, we cannot have the automation modify the commit. I think
Say it again.
it's only able to add commits, not modify them.
No, no, we are not talking about modifying, but removing commits from a proposal.
From the branch.
Yeah,
I think it
uh,
won't change how it's gonna work.
you still need to re-sign all the commits on top of the one you remove, right?
I
Sure.
think we just need to remove the commit or reset the staging branch or remove the commit from the staging branch and then generate the proposal again.
Yeah.
I
New
think
pull request.
But I
yes,
think that, yeah, I think that has to
I,
be done on the releases machine because I don't think we can run that
Yeah, that
Right.
seems
Today,
easier
yes.
actually.
No, but at some point we could fully automate it,
okay.
right?
Yeah, it needs to run in the same action. So in the same runner, I believe. So you need to have a dedicated hosted runner. Is that you saying?
No, the point is that um, if you want the commits to be signed, then it has to be whatever is creating the commits has to be run in the context of the person whose signing key is being used.
But I don't get
Mhm.
the signing. What is the signing we're talking about here?
So
Because
Well,
we
the,
are signing commits that lands on staging branches.
is the automation
So unless you give your
Oh,
your
okay.
private key to the GitHub runner, it won't be able to sign it.
Yeah, it would work only if, for instance, let's say that the Git node staging, the tool you are creating,
right,
is
right,
running on a dedicated machine and in a
right,
hosted runner. And then this new bot would need to use the same machine with the same keys to drop that commit. Otherwise, it won't be signed.
right. But that's a separate discussion, yes. But I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
the point.
But
Yeah,
yeah, we are talking about a
yeah,
future
yeah,
bot in any
yeah,
case to talk about that.
yeah. Right, right. Yes. Because yeah, I guess to get to that point, even yes, we need to talk about that other automation, right? Like, and I would like to I'd like for us to talk about it before we run out of time here, which is the Git node staging that I started working on. But I know one-to-one also open a pull request in the project with an action that kind of does something similar. But I also noticed there are some very diverging visions of the implementation. And it'd be nice to just have the time here to talk about it, like clarify what we want to do, like what direction we want to move so that we can also because that's a very important like is the first step of preparing a release, right? Like getting all the commits
Mhm.
lined up in the staging branch. So let's all make sure we're kind of like on the same page here on how to move forward. And yes, because then like we're so much closer to have a much more automated process, right?
Mhm. One thing that I was thinking about is just instead of landing pull requests, okay, never mind, that won't work for LTS branches. Just figure it out. So sorry.
What?
I was thinking about like an action that would run on every pull request and check if that lands cleanly on other
Yeah.
branches. But considering that LTS
Oh,
branch
right.
to stay 2 weeks, it will be out of date, and the information will be
Well,
useless.
Right. You could do some checking, right? Like you could retrieve like if that commit, like
yeah,
the
so
commits already went to this, figure out what version
what
they should, right? Like the current, right? Like and do the check for 2 weeks. Go ahead.
what my automation is doing is so it creates another branch which like acts like a staging branch where the automation lands the all the pull requests it can backport. So it knows if it knows sooner if a pull request is going to conflict, I guess. That was my reasoning.
Right. And in comparison, like for git node staging, I was operating under the assumption that staging is the working area for the releaser. And we just want to land everything in there. And same as we do today, right? Like
I think that
if we
It's
I
the
need to
think
same
the
add,
two
problem.
things I think the two things are trying to solve slightly different problems. I think Roy, you're looking
Yeah, I agree.
directly at creating the staging, updating staging branch, but Antoine's looking at the can we detect things that need manual backports much quicker than at the point that you're trying to assemble the staging branch prior to a release.
right.
Yeah, because if you have 20 conflicts to solve, it takes a much bigger toll on my motivation at least than if we have to do 5 for every week. If that makes sense, like more LTS branches, at least that's
Right.
the
Right.
case.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, but my idea was like, that having that automation, like it would be something like I could be running, right? Like
Yeah,
every week before, let's say I signed up for a release in January, right? Like I could be running it every week and like kind of be like fixing things already, right? Like fixing the conflicts and
but
like sending the
my
message.
thing, my automation is running on GitHub Actions, and as we just discussed, if we want signed commits, we cannot use GitHub Actions for that.
I don't think we
Unless
need
we
signed
give
commits, do
it
we?
the sorry.
Do we want signed commits? Is that
Yeah,
is there
because so the idea is staging branches, release branches, uh, receive much fewer eyes on them, right? So if someone wants to sneakily backport, well, while doing a backport adds, I don't know, a backdoor or whatever, it's well, if they the release if the commit has to be signed, well, it's quite easy to find who it is. Rather than if we have a bot backporting commit, it's really easy to impersonate the bot.
what do you mean to say? Like you mean that to say as a, because then you're trying to defend against ourselves, like against a malicious releaser. Is that what you're kind of implying here?
Could be,
Because it
could be,
doesn't
or
change.
any admin. Now, so well, if I backport a commit with my signature
Mhm.
and the backport contains a backdoor, it puts my reputation at risk because well, it's letting me who did it, right? Because I signed it.
Right. It adds more
If
paper trail to it, right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, like you were still likely that the releaser for that release. So I mean, it's still kind of assigned to you in a way, right? Like it's still you. But I get what you say. Like
Sure,
that
but
adds more paper trail. Like okay, and also like if maybe the person was not doing the release, but like just helping out, right?
it's very easy to impersonate the bot also. So
Right,
you
right.
just have to have permissions to push that branch,
Mhm.
which we have protections against. It's already a limited set of person, but
Right,
having the signatures really adds to that your reputation is at risk if you add a backdoor. And I'm
right,
not sure it's worth it having an automation if we remove that guarantee.
right. No, but I think I see what Richard was saying here. Like your automation could kind of like the two
Yeah,
things
it's
can
quite
work
different.
together, right? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's more a way for us to get notified. Maybe you want to start working on the backports now before it piles up
Right.
the conflicts.
I see. No, that changed a lot of yeah. I know all the changed a lot of my way of looking at that action then, like because if it's yeah, it's more ephemeral. Like so you're not even going to try and land are you going to try and land the commits that can be landed on staging or not even? You're just validating that they can potentially be landed, right?
So either the commit lands cleanly, and
Mhm.
I don't think there's much value to have a bot doing it or a human. It's really
Mhm.
trivial for both
It's all the
cases.
same.
Either the commit has conflict and then it needs to be human. So yeah, I'm not gonna try to put on staging because it would do the low-hanging fruits anyway that we can do with just one command. So yeah, I don't think there's any value in having the automation push through staging.
Right. Yeah, it don't complicates more things. So okay, so we would be running that validation you done, like to validate and kind of like have an early sign that okay, this needs backporting. And then we can also be running the Git node staging automation to go ahead and land them. But then there is also value in still having the check, right? I call the backport request check and validation over there too, because in case it was not catch early. You agree?
Yeah, I haven't tried your Git node staging yet. I
Right.
assume when it gets a conflict, it asks you, do you want to fix it or add the label? Is that how it works?
No, how it works is kind of like it just skips it. It kind of like add a label, like it's going to go ahead and already add the label to the original pull request, but then it generates a report at the end. So my idea, the way I've been tweaking it, I'm kind of like it's work in progress right now in my pull request, but the idea is to push that report to a new issue that I think potentially in the release repo, so that the releaser can kind of like act on the commits that actually need backporting, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
so you could,
the problem is if you skip a commit, you might get more conflicts down the line. Ideally, if I think your tool should ask, does this conflict looks resolvable, and only add the
I
label
think
if you think it's not.
that's my personal point of view. I think that process is super slow, like,
Yeah,
and it
but
demotivates,
what if we have only the bot has opened the PR, the issue, you have only 5 conflicts to solve this week.
right, but it's very likely that's not something I can fix. Like it's very often that it's
I
the
disagree.
C++ code, right? Uh, that's my point of view. I mean,
Yeah,
we
but
can agree to disagree.
well, then you can say, well, no, I'm not gonna fix it, and then it adds the label.
Yes, I
But
mean,
it
but
should
I
ask, or at least
should
have an
ask
option
for.
to
But
before adding the
if
label.
that ask if the bot asks that, we will never be able to automate it. Like
Yeah,
in an
but it's what I said. We will never going to automate it because we want commits to be signed.
No, but it's okay. But I want to automate it, even if it's signed, even if it's running on my machine. I want it to be fully automated. I want to run it, be done with it, and then I can come back.
Sure.
And when I
But
on my
you
own
can add
time, I
a
can
flag.
start. Yes, but look, the labels are very low, like low signal. They're not going to. It's not. We're not commenting. I think the thing that Michael pushed back against, and I agree with, I removed that part already, was the commenting. Because commenting, you're actively going to poke the author, right? Like, either they're going to work on it or not, right? Like, but I think adding the label is it's going to signal that PR will need backport at some point. And if it's a very small one, very simple one, hopefully we're going to be able to get to it right away, right? But if it's a larger thing that really actually needs the original author to do the work, maybe they can start the work right away, right?
I mean, if you add interactive stuff, I will use your thing. If you don't, I will not use your thing. It's
Okay, there could, yeah,
I
I
want
could,
to be able to fix the conflict before
sure. I think
adding
that
the
could be an
label
option.
and
I think
commit.
it might be able to be to have that be an optional thing that to have it running that way.
Exactly.
But it's not the way I want to use it. I want
Because
it
we
to
work
run all at once.
differently. Yeah. but it doesn't have to be one or the other. Can be an option.
Sure.
One suggestion I gave in that issue is to generate after the Git node staging runs, it generates a report that we can tag as an issue, and the list of commits sorted by the commit history, and then
Right.
tagging the author in a single issue about that. So we have like which issues which.
I think my automation will already have opened the issue saying which commits don't backport cleanly.
Yes, that is a duplication in the two of them. Yes.
I mean, so the workflow I foresee is my automation opens an issue saying you have conflicts on that branch. Then you run git node staging, and you decide if you can fix them or you need to ping the PR author.
I think having both sides is good. Like if you want to run it locally, you can check and if that works. I believe that at some point we would like to have that action running on a specific hosted runner with signing key that we trust, and then in that case we want check if we can solve it. It will just ask for backport and that's all. I think
Yeah.
we can have both sides and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That the way I was envisioning it, having it be resolved later kind of makes it more feasible, to be running an action, running in a thing that can just be, yeah, that's, big difference.
Yeah, I don't think we can trust a hosted runner for the private key.
Why?
Well, it's much easier to impersonate than our own private keys, I would hope.
I think if you just do npm install in your local machine, someone can do that in your machine as well.
No, because there's a key, a passphrase that encrypts my private key.
Yeah, and
Our existing setup is that the releases have their own keys and are responsible for looking after their own keys. We've had one scenario where someone's laptop was stolen and we sort of marked that key as we don't know it's been compromised, but we're taking no chances, and we've marked that as that's not to be used for future. There's a big issue in the sort of community, which is a lot of people try and check like the signature to a key, but without taking into account like time. So the signatures are valid at the point that the releases are done, but that's not to say that that key in the future might get revoked, but it was valid at that time. It might not be valid after such and such a date. That's a community education issue that, we hit. So I think people have complained before about, they've tried to validate like a Node 16 release and it doesn't validate. Well, that's true, but it validated at the time. So it's kind of, there's nothing around that. I think it's a big thing. I don't know if we've got time to discuss this here, that changing from individual releases key to saying we want like some shared key, because the risk of that key being compromised is much greater if multiple people have to be able to use it, or it's on some automation that now we've got to put some guards around the automation to make sure that that key doesn't leak. At the moment, while I'm if something bad happens to me personally, maybe my key would leak, but it wouldn't compromise all the other releases. But if we had a shared key and that key leaked, then we've got a huge problem in terms of trying to secure the whole pipeline. And
we might also not realize it leaks while I think for our own private keys.
But I think that's a separate discussion from the automation. I mean, that would be a fundamental change in the way we currently sign release artifacts. So it's not that we can't change it, but I think that's a much bigger conversation than, automation. Automation is good. And we should continue having those discussions. But I think the actual signing of stuff, that is more fundamental and a sort of more meta discussion.
Right.
Yeah, so just to finalize, so having a flag or opt-in or by by default, I think that's fine to skip or to ask for if
Yeah,
either can fix it. So
yeah,
I think
I think the only thing maybe, yeah, Antoine, I want to ask you, may just validate here before I take more time to finish cleaning up the pull request. Are you okay that Git node staging will generate a report at the end, or you also
Oh yeah,
like an option to skip it? Like, what do you think?
yeah, I certainly don't mind the report.
Okay, okay, cool. Because I think it's the only place that like the only then like becomes like the most important thing that is duplicated between your automation and that. But I think it's fine. I also agree it's fine to have both. Like, the more the better. Like in case one failed, the other one might catch something. Right? Like I don't see it as a problem. Is it? Maybe we'll be closing a little bit more issues if it gets. But then we can also revisit, right? Like let's see how it works in practice. Like, and then we can kind of tweak it, like make it less or more verbose. Like, cool. I think we're getting to the time here. We just want to quickly just scan through the upcoming releases, make sure everything is has uh, has someone assigned for the next upcoming release, all the release notes.
um, I will add myself to the next 23 release so we can
Okay.
test the automation.
Oh, cool.
There is my am I muting now? There is some sort of text decoder regression on 23. Was it 23.40 or was it
Yeah,
4.0.
23. Yeah,
Yeah.
40.
I don't know if that's important enough to try and get a fix out sooner. Otherwise, I'm kind of thinking we probably won't have that many releases this side of Christmas.
It,
Okay.
it's scheduled for next week, so
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't think
If
we can do
someone
much
has
quicker
time to
than
do that,
that.
yeah.
Yep. And Marco just added himself to the next 20 release. I know that it's maintenance, but looks like he wants to keep it a bit up to date. And I think we just need volunteers for 22.
22. I volunteer for one early January so that I can follow up and
Okay.
test one last time my
So,
Git node staging automation
so we have people for all the release lines.
or release lines. Okay, that's awesome. Cool.
Okay. I will drop here and the meeting will go out.
All right.
So
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.